Currently, we're working on a system to make the pilots more unique so that designers can specifically go in and tweak pilots, make them like super badass pilots that take every risk they can possibly do and have crazy maneuvers, or maybe a rookie who just started his pilot education and might do some stupid stuff that will result in getting into dangerous situations for him. So that's something we're currently working on. But of course, due to the focus on 3.1 currently, we of course have to fix bugs and issues to get 3.1 in a shape, also for Arena Commander and the universe, get it into a shape where it's great for the player, great experience.
The December live stream was really crucial for us as a proof of concept that the work, all the time that we spent last year on refactoring the AI system and all the concept of AI flight was, let's say, successful. We were able to show a full dogfight scene involving multiple ships against the player. The result was actually satisfactory, and right now we are in the process of converting all AI flight logic into substantial and the new system. Consider that the new system is totally new, so both the AI side and the connection with the underlying vehicle system, it's all pretty new, has been developed during last year. The crucial difference with respect to the old system is that AI is now completely character-centered, so it's not the AI ship, it's actually the pilot that is executing an AI behavior.
We basically have one giant behavior that drives the pilot, right? And that doesn't really matter if you're in an Avenger or in Aurora, you still have the same pilot behavior. So one of the things we're working on right now is breaking that down to get behavioral differences between, for example, a small ship, a medium-sized ship, a heavy ship, and a capital ship, because they all behave differently. And these behaviors even then break down depending on what job type you have. If, for example, you could be a fighter, a bomber, or we have the class called industrial ship that would include like mining and salvaging. So we're trying to nail down and actually make it visible what the differences is between. Because, for example, a Starfarer tries to dogfight similarly to, let's say, a Gladius. And that's not really good, because the one thing is fast and agile, and the other one is like big and has turrets, I think. So we're trying to break down what the differences between these are. This is something we're pushing in the next sprint, which will not be done for 3.1, but we're actively working on it.
AI pilot or gunner has full access to all features and systems that are available to the player, for example. So we can access and manage weapons, shields, countermeasures, and so on. And all these systems are part of the decision process that the pilot needs to take to perform each continuously, basically, when flying the vehicle, if it's during a dogfight or just flying in the system to reach a point. Designers can actually request a pilot to perform certain actions constrained to a spline. So they can design a spline space and have the AI following the spline. But of course, normally general flying is performed based on a behavior, so it's systematic. And that means that decisions are taken based on the context, so based on for example, the position, the current position of the target, or the distance, or whether the shields are down or up, or if weapons are functioning or not functioning. So there is the entirety of the AI behavior during flight is based on a behavior that is built, that is sensible to the context. But we can also have scripted scenes where a ship is a pilot actually is requested to fly over a spline. Let me give you an example. In our current, let's say, dogfight activity, the pilot first needs to acquire a target. So he will, through some function, will query if there are nearby targets, so hostiles, for example. Once the pilot has acquired the target, consider that the pilot is using, his perception is what a player has, is just the same as the player. So it relies on the radar to detect other ships, on any other actually entity that appears on the radar. So we'll select a target, and and once there is a target, we'll engage in combat. Now we see the combat as a three-phase activity. So there is an approach, an engage, and a break. Basically, these three phases are executed during the fight. The approach is to reach a vantage point. So he will query the distance, query the position of the target, and decide from which direction is more, let's say, convenient to attack. Once he decides the position, let's say, the relative position as a goal, he will plan to a flight path. And this flight path, of course, will be collision-free. So he needs to request the AI system for a collision-free path towards the vantage point. Once it reaches this, say, entry point for the actually combat, so when it will start firing, then basically this phase that is, let's say, the most hot moment of the dogfight will be based on skill. So if it can do decouple maneuver, it will switch to a decouple mode and gain a closer distance to the target, and trying to also to position itself in a way to have higher chance of hitting the target. If it's just jousting, we'll just fly against the target and then disengage when it's in danger of collision. And we'll break basically as sort of way to relieve the pressure on the target and give him a chance to being hit, actually, to hit the AI. These are roughly how the dogfight now works. It will, of course, evolve in probably become something more complex. Let's say that everything, so now it's designed substantial, so we have tasks implemented substantial for chasing, for strafing maneuvers, or just simple query on the state of the target, and queries like on the level of the shields. So I might want, as a AI, want to disengage from a close combat sooner if my shields are low or down. As well, I can disengage if my weapons are overheating, because so in that case I need to wait for a cooldown period before using my weapons. So maybe it's better for me to gain some safe distance from my target. All these elements are modeled in substantial, so every time we need to continuously add tasks to be able to design a substantial activity in this case. So AI interfaces with the vehicle flight control, that is also known as IFCS, or autopilot as we call it. This is a new interface that has been developed last year.
So with the pilot's behaviours in mind, we're trying to replicate their personalities into the way they fly, much akin to the characters' animation sets, like the way you see Old Man walking and interacting. We want to bring across the fact that, like, even though he is an ace pilot, he's not cocky. He's an efficient man, and he'll show in his flying. He'll pull off the right manoeuvres, but not try to showboat at all, unlike other characters you may find in the universe. The Vanduul, their behaviour will very much reflect the aggressive look of their ships. They'll be in your face, trying to cut down your shields to ultimately ram you with their scythes or their glaives. Another example, because some pirates you may come across in the universe, they'll be wanting to eliminate your ship and use it for scrap, so therefore they might not want to do excessive damage and therefore not use missiles on you.
We have, of course, this big separation between single piloted ship and multi-crew ship. If you want to create a behavior for a multi-crew ship, that it becomes very complicated and it becomes very specific. While if you want to have this emergent gameplay, then of course you get it much easier having like specific behavior for the different characters that they control different parts of the multi-crew ship. So in the live stream, you can see that the pilots are controlling directly the FCS as a normal player would do, so giving commands to the autopilot. For example, I want to pass through these points, I want to chase this other ship, I want to be at this type of distance from another ship. And these type of commands come from their behavior that is in subsumption. So we have regular behaviors that the designer can script, exactly like the character AI, assignments that are a sort of suggestions from what the designer can tell the ship. For example, attack this target, or defend this area, or just follow me. And they are similar to what the wingman commands are from the player perspective, right? The player can give requests to his wingman, and the same designer can give requests to any element of the game. So bringing the spaceship into subsumption has given us a lot of flexibility on the way we create behaviors. Lots of variables are exposed on each character or on players, and in the behaviors we can access those variables. We can access relationship between different characters, different factions. It can be like a personal relation that you have with one character, or your wanted level, or how hungry you are, for example, right? All these type of things that in a normal character behavior or controls, if you want to go eating something, or you want to rest, the same can be done now with the pilots. So in our current dogfight behaviors, what we control is for sure the relation with the target. That also controls the way we can acquire a target. Wildlands are one of the best examples in which relationship with characters allow us to communicate different things. For missions, let's say you want to escort somebody, you are a friendly character, right? A friendly player, you want to defend this new escort. What happens is, if you attack him, he can tell you, it's like, hey, you should protect me, and now you're attacking me, something is going wrong. And this type of relationship can be used to communicate to the player what's going on and how the mission is influenced, by your behavior.
The skill system is mainly split in two things. The one is the skills, and the other one is traits. Where skills is everything that you can learn in the game and you can spend the experience of the AI on, which would be like piloting, weapon proficiency, aiming, but also other skills which are not ship related. So this is a system that will go live across FPS, ship AI, and also like jobs. This is the one part of it. The other part is the trait system. So the trait system will be defined at AI creation. So they will get certain traits. For example, someone might be hot-headed, so they lose their temper quickly. Someone might be more reserved. And we came up not with a finished list of traits, but with a decent amount, and they will influence the personality of the AI. These are going to be set by, as I said, at the creation, and will probably not change during the lifetime unless under very special circumstances. For example, you hire an AI to fly a mission in the PU, and that mission involves some vandal. And you have a very fierce fight around a caterpillar to retrieve the cargo, and you kill all of the vandal, and this guy is the only guy who survives. In this circumstance, he might gain the trait hatred vandal. This means the next time he fights vandal, there will be certain things changing in his behavior. For example, he will prioritizing the targets of vandal because he likes to shoot them first. Also, he will act more reckless towards vandal. So, and these kind of traits, as said, will only be a special set of circumstances need to be achieved to really change these traits. Otherwise, these personality values will not change over time. It's not something you can skill. It's something that's inherent in the character. One of the things that skills do will also give the AI access to certain behaviors. So the better they get, the more maneuvers they can do. For example, if you have a pilot with a piloting skill of 5, he will be able to do almost any kind of maneuver that we specifically described in the behavior. That might be something like a button hook or lead roll or things like that. These are like paper planes you can buy, And I love them as a kid because they actually fly pretty decent. So I ordered 50 of them, and each designer now has one, so we can actually play out maneuvers. It's almost like paper prototyping, but we just bought these. Yeah, things you can do when you're an adult, which you can't do as a kid. It's also that my girlfriend only tells me that I always play at work. I don't actually do real work. I just play, I order toys and stuff, so she kind of has a point. AI will also get the concept of morale. So depending on what happens in fight, this morale can get lowered, and that will, on the other hand, influence their behavior again. So it might be that you're flying with your trusted wingman, and you're a squad of 4, and all of them got shot down, only one AI survives. That's severe morale damage. If the enemy is outnumbering you by vast numbers, high morale damage. And this can get to a point where the AI decides, okay, this is not worth it, I'm gonna flee. Or I'm gonna fly more defensive behavior. A thing that ties in with traits, because there are traits like stubbornness, right, which gives you less morale damage. Or there are also traits that can influence how, if you're a great leader, for example, you influence the AI around you and give them a morale boost, or a shield against morale damage, for example. So that would be something useful for the captain of an Idris, for example, so his crew doesn't get that morale damage. This also ties in with, for example, what we call sustenance. So that would be something like food and water and basic hygiene. If that gets too low, that also damages your morale. So this is more like a long-term effect versus short-term effect. So as a captain and as someone who hires AI crew, make sure you keep them in check, keep them well fed, so they can work at the highest efficiency possible.
So we're making a specific UI for controlling skills and traits. So the designer can say, okay, I want to create these characters, and I want him to have this predefined, or let's say, these basic skill sets and these basic traits. Then with the game running, we can influence those values. But I think, it might be also that traits influences you, but also the environment influences you. For example, yeah, you are a cautious guy, but you are also the last one in the specific mission, right? So mission story can also drive the fact, like, okay, I really want you to still attack till you are dead, right? Or I want you to let the systemic behavior run, and maybe you have a chance, since you are very cautious, to try to run away and try to survive. And and this is all tidying up to what we want to do in the future with the Nemesis system, right? Because I think it would be very nice when you are fighting specific characters, and then some escape, or is able to survive. You might find him later on, and I think this gives you this kind of really cool experience, because you play with the universe, and the universe still reacts to your actions. And when in the future you will have missions that says like, okay, I want to find you a specific character that is a pilot and has this specific skill. Can you give me one of your persistent characters? It might be that our system says, wait a second, we actually have a nemesis for you, because in this other mission you actually left this guy alive, and then now he wants revenge. So we can instantiate the characters, and he will tell you like, oh, you left me alive once, this time it's not gonna be the same. And I think this gives really interesting scenarios.
On the technical side, we have a new tool set up in the editor, which is called the character profile editor, where all these can be defined. And then designers can assign profiles to certain characters, from like a standard profile, like a newbie pilot just straight off the academy, to a veteran. So we're preparing all these generic ones, and then for like special characters, like for example Sitao or Old Man, they will have the unique tweaked character profiles, where just regular NPCs will be generated automatic.
So basically what we are trying to do is, and it's very interesting, is we are trying to study also what the community prepared between themselves to train and learn how to use different type of techniques of flying, what is more effective, and we are trying to apply it to the AI itself. So from one side, I think it's very interesting to see how Star Citizen is kind of a mixed learning experience from us as developers and the community that it needs to play. So they learn how to best fly, we learn from there what's best, we try to apply to the AI, and they will have to learn how to counter the enemies. So yeah, that's an interesting challenge for us.
Ship AI is obviously a huge thing, because it's gonna be everywhere. Whether that is allies fighting on your side or enemies you will be fighting. it might be pirates, slavers, Vandal ships that you'll be fighting. So you will encounter stuff that our team did all the way through Squadron 42, of course, the Universe, and Arena Commander.